Welcome everyone to yet another SDN Community Voices, our weekly touch point between you, the members and the followers of the Service Design Network, and all these amazing voices that we have throughout the design and service design community. My name is Felipe, and as always, I am your ambassador and host. And today I'm very excited to bring Dr. Ravi to the conversation. He has years of experience in R&D, product development, and management, so many different areas there. So I'm excited to hear a little bit his own thoughts on all of those different things. And before we dive in, a quick reminder to write any questions in the chat throughout this conversation, and we will address them live during our Q&A segment. So yeah, just interact with us throughout the process. And now let's bring Dr. Ravi to the screen and ask him to introduce yourself. Welcome.
Hello, hi. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Hi, hello everyone. I am Dr. Ravi Mahamuni, service designer, principal scientist, and head of design research at TCS Research. So I have around 29 years of industry experience in various fields, the technology, management, and design. So I feel that I am at very sweet spot where I can talk with the technology team, management team, and the designers so that I can translate what they want to say in everybody's language so that there is no or less communication gap.
Yeah, I think the communication gap is always a little bit of a problem, right? When you're talking about multidisciplinary teams. So, how, like, just to start off, how is it a little bit that you do that communication between those different areas? Do you have like a secret sauce or something like that?
Not a secret sauce. So the idea here is that whenever we are talking to the designer, so we are trying to see that the what is the novelty, what is the creativity, what the value we are bringing from the design perspective. But when we try to communicate that with the business team, who are the decision makers, we try to see that how we can show the direct or indirect connection with the business value. I think a lot of times it's very difficult to show the value of whatever the design we are doing in business terms. But
Yeah.
can we show the indicators that if we do this, this is how the things will happen? This may help you to increase your revenue. This may help you to have a repeat customer. So, like that, if we connect, I think it helps them to understand what we are doing. It's not only the aesthetic part, but it can really bring a business value to the company. I think that way it really helps. And for the technologist, when we are talking about the digital touch points, I think we can talk in their language and see that, okay, this is how it is. And what is the thought behind the way we have designed? I think if we can explain, it really helps them so that whenever they are implementing, they can keep this in mind and see that the rationale behind those things also get translated into the implementation.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because it's three completely different perspectives that more and more are working together in these big companies, but even smaller teams right now are having people from those different areas having to work together and understanding how to have these same conversations, right?
Completely agree. I think if we really want to uh, make sure that as a designer, whatever we have designed, if we want to realize it on ground, I think we need to communicate better and see that what is their perspective and help them to implement it. It's instead of having that hands-off approach. I think if we are there with them till the implementation, till this gets realized on ground, it's always a good idea. Our efforts gets tapered down over a period of time, but I think we need to be there with them, providing them the required guidance or the explanation so that they implement the way we have thought about.
Hmm. Would you say then it becomes an extension of the role also to be this facilitator in the conversations till the implementation?
Exactly. And also always giving them why we have designed that feature, because a lot of times we are not able to put all the thought process into the in process artifacts or our design specification. Lot of things become a tacit knowledge with us as a designer, which we are not explicitly mentioned in the all those specifications which we have handed over to the implementation team. And hence at least the one person who is part of the design process, if it is with them as a checkpoint or as a sounding board, I think it really helps.
Yeah, and I think it's also the human aspect of it. That maybe you might have a documentation of the process and the thought process, but as you said, a lot of times you might not be able to translate the testing knowledge directly into the documentation. And then having one person there that can really understand throughout the process what they're trying to find, then it really helps to create this bridge much more naturally in a way, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
And what about the other way around in a way? Because we're talking a little bit about design being the facilitator. Do you think also in other kind of conversations or other parts of the process, do the tech becomes a facilitator, the management business side become a facilitator? How does that work?
So generally, what we do is that we will always have a business sponsor, correct? So from which our design brief comes. So they are the people who are the decisions maker who will be investing money while implementing it. So what we do is that the as part of my PhD, I have come up with something called as an empathy square. So what it means is that the whatever we design, how we can be empathetic to the concern, constraint, and the expectations of four important stakeholders. First, I will not say first, but one of the important node is the service user, service provider, service staff, which can be a human touch point, and the society and environment. Depending on the design brief, the anchor node can be a service user, or sometime if it is a sustainability initiative, it can be a society and environment. If it is a organizational services, then the service staff can be the anchor node. So anchor node might change, but once we have a concern, constraint, and expectations of all these four important stakeholders, service user, service provider, service staff, and society and environment, I think we can start balancing those things while identifying initially who is the anchor node, and then balance about the other thing. So that way, whenever we are designing something and talking, we try to connect with them. Oh, from a service provider perspective, I think these are the your pain areas. Whatever we are designing, though it looks like from a service user perspective, this is how it is going to help. Important thing is that when we talk about the service design, there can be a human touch point or a digital touch point, but unless we take care of a human touch point, that is a service staff, what are their concern, constraint, and expectations, they will not really help us in making our customer happy. So how we can address their concern, constraint, and expectation while the focus is on the service user? So like that, we try to actually balance between these four important stakeholders, and that's why we call it as the empathy square, where we need to be empathetic to the concern, constraint, expectations of these all four important stakeholders. I think that approach, we it really helped us in connecting with all these four important stakeholders, as well as bringing them on board in the design life cycle as well as while implementation, and it reduces the friction from an implementation perspective.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I'm curious also just to hear how did this come up to be throughout your PhD? Was that something that you already realized, and then when you went into the research, you wanted to look into that, or was it something that through the process of interviewing people, you kind of found this need for this methodology?
Yeah, so I think very interesting question. So I did my PhD I enrolled for my PhD at the age of
Hmm?
44. So after having around 22 years of experience, I enrolled for the PhD. So while enrolling for the PhD, I had a lot of project experience. But the idea when I enrolled for a PhD was that I want to create a knowledge which is actionable, not just the theoretical PhD or thesis which is lying there. But the idea is that how we can really help in our day-to-day life and make designers, service designers' life easy. And with that intentions, I started doing my PhD. Just I'm happy to share with you is that in my company, 10,000 plus people are trained on my PhD work, so that they can start using in the different projects and all. So there I looked at the my experience as well as the literature, as well as we interviewed people, and also used the uh, research through design methodology. So we had some hypothesis. We actually worked on the project and saw that whether our hypothesis is working, not working, and then went back and again refined it, again applied in the new project. So I had around 6, 7
Mm.
iteration till I came up with the final version, which has the theoretical aspect as well as the practical actionable aspect also, that how we can really use it in the
That's
project.
amazing. Do you have maybe an example of how you used it on your work after you finished the PhD, or maybe another team used it?
So we have also used, and another teams also used it. So let me take one example. When we were trying to apply this in the citizen services like a passport seva kendra, so it is like the where Indian government issues the passport to the Indian citizens. Okay, so there we looked into not only from a citizen's perspective, that of course they want very easy process, that easy process to get the appointment, easy process to upload their documentation and get the passport very quickly, correct? So that's from a user perspective. But the people who are responsible to making sure that they are approving the passport to the valid person, as well as lot of security related things are also taken care,
Hmm.
correct? So we looked into their concern, constraint and expectations, why they are taking so much time in decision making, what goes on their mind when they are approving those things, correct? So that was the service staff, service user who is human touch point who is going to make the citizens life easy. But then the government, external affairs ministry, what is their thought process, why they want to make this easy, and the society and environment, if there is anything. So we looked into all these four important stakeholder perspective, and when we came up with the interventions, I think we made everybody's life easy. And so that it got implemented. So we are in around it's in place for last 15 years, and we are getting a very good feedback. We have won lot of awards for that implementation. People never thought that the government service like a passport issuing service can be so pleasant. So previously it used to take a 3 months or something, now it happens in a few
Yeah,
days.
I can I
And
can relate to that experience, to be honest, personally, because my dad had a big problem with his passport. He needed to renew it, but he was not living in Brazil at a time, and they told him, yeah, it's going to take like 9 months, and he had it back. So this is very relatable, I would say.
exactly, yeah. Yeah. So just to add on to that, so when we looked at this problem, we look from an experience perspective, that how we can look at the experience of all stakeholders, as well as systemic perspective, because there are so many agencies work together to make it happen. Like for example, when you apply for the passport, once it gets approved by the passport authorities, it goes to the police
Mm.
verification, correct? So that the police are also involved, local authorities are involved in approving, and then it goes back to the printing, then it gets shipped to the your local address if it's everything gets approved and all. So we looked at service design and the system design, how we can really look at from both the perspective. And also when we talk about the system design perspective, so we have made the process very fast and all, everybody's life easy. But what happened because of that is that there were a lot of applications were pending at the police station for a police
Mm.
verification. So if you look at from a system flow flow diagram, so you can see that okay, we need to do something. So we improve their process, also ask the question, do we have to send the passport every time for a police verification? If it is a renewal case and there is no change in your name, the address and any data, do we have to
Yeah.
do that? So when we ask this question to make sure that the flow we can reduce, and then we came up with some policy changes and process that if there are no changes, we can recommend to the passport authority that there is no need for a police verification. But they can override it if they feel like no, no, no. I think there is something which, so 99 percent cases for a renewal, it doesn't go for police verification. But in some random cases, or that authority feels like needs to be done, then only it goes for a passport. So we have reduced the traffic or the jam bottleneck at the police verification level. So I think like that, lot of times when we look from a service design and a system design perspective, it really make those wicked problems solvable and realize
Yeah,
on
and I
them.
think that's such a powerful example also, because it's, as you're saying, it's so many little steps that probably were created so long ago, and nowadays people don't even think about how they're doing the steps. They just go with how it was created. That's how it is. A lot of times with public services, it's what it is for decades and stuff. Nobody's going to change it. And then you really realize that it can
Yeah.
save people time, save people patients, save them money, like a lot of things for all the different spheres that you were talking about, right?
Exactly, exactly. So what we say is that the we have created something called as a value equation. So what value we are bringing to these different stakeholder. So if you look at traditionally, it's always value is equal to benefits divided by the cost. Correct? What benefits we are giving at what cost, and always it's our aim is that how we can increase the benefit in a
Mm.
lower cost. Correct. But if we look from a service design perspective and what value we are bringing, so the equation changes little bit, which is actually we have um, adopted from Philip Kotler, that is from marketing management, is that the value is equal to the functional plus emotional plus social benefits. So it's not functional, emotional plus social benefits. And in the denominator, the different types of cost. It's not always a monetary cost, it's monetary plus time, how much time you have to spend to do this, then how much effort you need to do that activity, and whether what is the psychic cost of doing that and the social cost of that. So social is at the benefit as well as the cost. So just to repeat it, so the value equation is the different types of benefits like a functional, emotional and social, and at the denominator different costs like a monetary cost, time cost, effort, psychic and the social cost. So let me just give an example of a psychic cost in again in light of this passport seva kendra. So I think a lot of times we psychic cost in a sense is that the how much stress we go through that. Okay, like for example, passport is a, such a case we don't look at it passport every day. When you have to travel international, you look at. Now suppose I have to travel next month and I want to apply for a visa. I take a passport and oh my god, it's
Mm.
expired because I have not looked at it because we don't keep track of those things. So then look at that psychic like a stress you are going through that I have to travel, my passport is expired, now I have to go and renew my passport and then apply for a visa. So we thought that this might be the case for most of the people, but as a system we have a data that whose passport is going to expire in next
Yeah.
6 months. So what we have done is that just made a simple thing. Can we send a SMS or a message because we have their contact details saying that your passport is getting expired in next 6 months. This is the link, this is the website or a mobile app through which you can apply for a
Yeah.
renewal. Look at the way we have reduced that stress the people might be going through. So I think so like that the value equation we need to look at the different benefits and the different cost, and that way I think we can really make everybody's life
Yeah, and I
easy.
think that's such a simple automation, right? As you said, you already have the data, you already have the contact. You create a very simple message that is going to basically be repeated, just changing some fields, and you make it so much easier for
Exactly.
everyone. And
Yes.
also because I think most likely there might be points in time throughout the year where they get like more amount of passports that are being submitted, maybe closer to summer or things like that, when people actually go travel and realize, oh, my passport's expired. So it also helps to
Exactly.
distribute the applications throughout the year, and then it makes it easier also for the people that are working with the passports, right?
Exactly, and also it helps you rightly mentioned is that the we reduce the load and distribute it over period of
Yeah.
year, so that you are not get stressed in some, like for example people wants to go for vacation, or the people where they are going for a higher education outside or something like that, where there is a everybody wants to apply for a passport or renew passport. I think that load can be distributed or year
Yeah,
actually.
and just to mention also, because we were talking about it a little bit before we came inside here, about the Service Desk conference coming up, right? It's going to happen in India this year. I think
Correct.
last time it was in Rio, in my country, Brazil. So are we going to hear some of those things in the conference?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, served as 25, that is a Service Design and Innovation International Conference, is happening in India first time. It's in the month of October, and the theme of conference is that the empowering diversity and nurturing lasting impact. So, if you look at the theme itself, because India is a very diverse country, and we are having so many things. Like if you look at from the natural resources perspective, people's perspective, different languages and all, and crafts. And so the idea here is that how we can really empower this diversity and also having lasting impact. The impact is very important because a lot of times we do the service design projects, okay, but it gets actually to the prototype and very few gets into the implementation stage. So the idea here is that how we can discuss that how we can make a lasting impact through service design, and that's the theme of the conference. So I will be happy to invite you all to IIT Hyderabad, where this conference is going to happen in the first week of October this year. And the paper deadline, research paper deadline, as well as the workshop proposal deadline is the 1st of March. I request all of you to please submit your papers through, and the website, I think QR code is
Yeah,
already here. And if you just search also for Sarudes 25, you will hit to the our
yeah.
website. As part of this design conference, we have applied the service design principle also. In a sense, is that the lot of times when we talk about the conference, it's during conference only we are really worried about. So what we have done is that the pre, during, and post. So since last year, October, November, we started as a pre-conference phase. So we have started the service design lecture as part of this conference, where every month we are having a one lecture related to service design concepts. So on the 25th of Feb, we are discussing about the business impact and how we can really measure the impact of service design. Really request all of you to join that session also. So we are having that sessions. Along with that, we have already launched the student service design competition,
Mm.
where we have got the 12 plus social problems from 200 plus NGOs, and we have made that available to the students so that they can select to work on these problems. That is the one side, and NGOs are going to help them in a data collection, and the finalist and the ideas whatever they are coming up with will be implemented by NGOs to make a real ground impact on social problems. I think that's how we are tapping in the bright ideas and getting implemented through NGOs on ground.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think I always love seeing so many different service design or generally design communities and conferences happening all over the world. And as you said, this is the first that served as it's coming to India. So that's also very exciting to hear so many different perspectives, not only of a different continent, but as you said, India is so diverse as a country on itself, right? So quite exciting. And then for anybody that wants to have a look, scan the QR code there.
Correct, correct. So on the website, details are there about the lecture series, and through that, you will, once you register, you will get the links to attend these sessions.
Yeah. And then with that, I will also open as questions for anybody that is watching us online. We're going to address them right now live. So just drop them in the comment sections, and then we will take them as they come. And we also have one from already from Katie Seller asking, I think, from that session that you mentioned on the 25th, where can we watch the sessions? Where they're going to be broadcasted? Is it Zoom? Is it like a live
So
stream?
it is the WebEx. So the WebEx links will be shared with the through our served as a LinkedIn profile, as well as the people who have registered. They get the email with the details.
Is there any limit from the amount of people that can join, or it's
No, no,
just
there is no limit. Actually, there is no limit.
Okay, that's great. And while we're waiting a little bit to see some other questions here, I would like to ask a question also about the. We were talking a little bit about the the student challenge, right? How did you come about partnering with those different nonprofits? What was the process there to find the nonprofits, understand their problems, and things like that?
Correct. So, because I also have the service design for society initiative, which I am working on it last 3 4 years. So, what I believe is that the service design is the thing which can really help all these social initiatives run by NGOs who are doing very good job in pockets, but they face the difficulty in replicating it. A lot of times they have financial problems, and because of they can't hire the service designers and all. But so through this service design for society India initiative, I try to help them to replicate what they are doing as well as increase their impact. And I
Mm.
feel that the service design methodology is really helping uh, in doing that. So through that, I was in connection with 200 plus NGOs working in India. So in one of the conference, I pitched this idea, and everybody liked it, and they said that yeah, I think this is a good idea. We are also looking for um, solutions, and if it comes from the top-notch minds of India and the international thing, I think it's a good idea. So that's where I conceptualize this service design competition, where there is something exciting for a service design students, as well as whatever they are doing will not get wasted, but it gets used on ground by these people and will get implemented. I think
Yeah,
that
it
was
goes
the
back
idea.
to what you're saying about the value creation or the value implementation throughout all these years, right?
Exactly.
Then we have a question from Tanmay asking how important is it to use a service blueprint or any other tools, if any?
So what I feel is that when we talk about this service design, so I think there are two parts. I think one is that the designerly way of thinking and then doing, correct. So I think a lot of times what happens is that we get caught into the various artifacts, like whether it is a blueprint or whether it is the empathy map or all those things, that are those are very good tools. But I think to populate that, we really needs to put lot of energy and the time in thinking about it. So like I was saying, depending on the problem, are we really thinking in terms of the values equation? Are we thinking in terms of the empathy square, like for example different stakeholders concern once we capture that and ideate, I think then these tools are very powerful. But if we just go that okay, I want to come up with a blueprint, I want to fill the business canvas or maybe the empathy map, then we are able to feel those things, but it doesn't come up with the solution which is really resonating with the different stakeholders. So I feel that we need to balance between the thinking and then doing, and populating all these different canvases as well as the tools. They are very powerful in capturing the all your thought process, all the insights in a such a way that which can communicate and hand over to the next team which is going to implement it. I think that way it bridges the gap between the what designers is thinking and the implementing. But I think to populate that, we need to also focus on the pre-phase of that, that how rigorously we are doing it.
Mm, yes, 100%. And then as a follow-up, Tommy also asked, also, what tips can you give to avoid getting stuck in a loop?
Very interesting point. So I think it happens. So a lot of times we try to see that what are the solutions we are coming up with a perfect. So I think we have to understand there is nothing like a perfect solution. So I think when we as a designer we feel that it's a good enough, I think we should start showcasing to the stakeholder. It helps to see the reaction, get the feedback, and then go back and refine instead of waiting till end saying that okay, I will come up with the solution. I think that way we get the early feedback as well as what will work, what will not work, and that helps in breaking the loop, as well as when the different stakeholders are in the process as a co-design team, I think that also helps in breaking the loop. Lot of times we those people are not part of our participatory design team. Then what happens, we always go to these stakeholders as a reviewer. Then if we are not involved them in the process, we take some solution, go to them for a review, they will give us some comments, we again go back, work on it, again we go to them as a review, and then it goes in the loop. But when we also make them as a part of the process, I think they also own the solution, and it helps in breaking the loop and moving forward. Though it is a iterative process, but the iteration doesn't happen at one place, the iteration happens in a moving forward way. I
Mm.
think this is my through practical experience. I can share it with you. Then.
That's great. And with that, we come to the end of our time together. So I thank you very much for all your insights and all this amazing conversation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And to everybody that joined us online, thank you very much for interacting with us. As I mentioned way too often, maybe this series of episodes really happen because of the people that are the community, the service design network community, and all the people in the design and service design community in general. So just thank you very much for joining us and engaging live here. And stay connected with us through our social medias. Here, there's the link tree with all of them to know about any future SDN Community Voices sessions, but also any of the other amazing initiatives that the SDN has right now. And thank you, Dr. Ravi, also for the time, and see you all next Thursday. Bye bye.